Hey, what's up, guys? I am in the studios right now with my good friend John Stallone and Dusty Phillips, and we're going live on Facebook. What's going on, John?
Not a whole lot. I just got back from the gym and came to chill out with you guys.
Nice, man. I like your setup, I like your backdrop there. You've got
My messy couch.
your messy couch filled with bow and arrows and deer
Yeah.
heads and antelope, and we will have to go through all that stuff, man. I want to know what all of those heads are all about.
Yeah, this is my home office. I got quite a few mounts in here. It's pretty packed because it's not very big. So
Gotcha.
It's the dead zoo.
Mantown. Looks like Mantown to me.
Yeah.
So John was featured on our podcast, the Big Buck Registry Deer Hunting Podcast, on episode 176. And we talked about spot and ambush. You said deer were lazy and force funnels and buck kills between 10 and 2. And it was one of our more popular podcasts, I must say. And maybe we should just touch on some of those topics first. But Dusty, you want to tell us who's sponsoring our show today?
It's Covert Scouting Cameras. Look them up, www.dlccovert.com.
Very cool. Well, John, let's talk about the podcast just a little bit, just to get a little refresher here. Tell us about some of your spot and stock ambush techniques.
Well, I figured out over the years that I'm not inherently sneaky. So I'm kind of, got the cat-like reflexes of a woolly mammoth. Right. So I started, instead of spot and stalk, I started spot and ambush, basically, because I found it really hard, mainly because I'm not very patient. So I don't go slow enough, I think, is what my problem is. So when I'm putting a stalk on something, let's say like a bedded buck, it's very hard for me to not get busted. So I figured this out really early on. And what I did was started learning behavior of deer and elk and other game. Oh, wow. The meeting has ended.
The meeting has ended?
That's what it just said.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I could check on Facebook. Let me look and see.
I think we're still good. I've got a broadcast going still on my side. I don't know what that was all about, though.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, no, you're not on there. It's not up. I'm looking at your Facebook right now.
Okay.
It's still live on my side.
Still live on mine, too. Yep.
Huh. Interesting. I don't see it. It's on your live Facebook, or do you have it on your personal?
I have it on the Big Buck Registry, but I'm gonna post it on my personal right now.
See, I'm looking at your Big Buck.
Gotcha.
That's probably what it is then.
Here it comes live. If you want to share it on your page too, we can do that.
Yeah. How do I do that?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Grab that link once I post it on my personal.
All that technology. I don't know how to use any of it. There we go. I see you live now. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. Where am I grabbing this link from? On your personal page?
Yeah, it's going up right now. So you should be able to grab it.
Okay. There it is.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about being live is there's always a hiccup here and there. Just so
this is the behind the curtains look at what really happens when you do podcasting.
Right.
This is exactly what happens every day when we try to do a show. We have some kind of malfunction, don't we, Dusty?
Yeah,
absolutely. Wouldn't be podcast without.
That was crazy. Out of nowhere, it goes. It has ended, and I'm like, okay, that sucks. All right, but I was saying the spot and ambush. Basically,
ambush. Let's go back to that.
Ambush. So basically, what I do is I've learned their behavior, and I spot them up, and I try to get in front of them. Basically, I wait for them I don't wait for them to bed down. I just watch their feeding habits and so on and so forth, and I try to put myself in a place that I know they're going to and get there before they do. So it's worked out very well for me. I've killed all my bigger mule deer that way. I've killed some whitetail that way, and antelope and elk. So it's worked out pretty good for me.
Gotcha. How did you develop that technique? I mean, that's something that that's going to take some mistakes, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm good at making mistakes. Like I said, I just spent a lot of time watching, and I think it came about mostly hunting here in Arizona during the rut. And, these big mule deer and even the coos deer, they're chasing these does all over the place, and you just start watching them and you start picking up if you're a detail oriented person, you start picking up these patterns of what these deer do and how they move and how they go about. Sometimes it just seems very willy-nilly. It's like it's all over the place and crazy, and it is at times. But if you watch the does, it's not really the bucks, because the bucks just doing what the does doing. If you watch the does and how she uses the trail system that's available to her, you get a good feel for what they're gonna do, and that's kind of what I've done.
Okay.
It's years of being the hunter and years of being the guy behind the radio talking in friends and family and clients and so on and so forth. To animals, kind of gets you that. So it's not something I developed overnight, let's just say.
We've had a few people join us. Are you watching the feed, Dusty?
No, I'm sharing a bunch of.
Gotcha. Okay. We had David Harlan join us. He goes, "Attaboy, John, real deal." And I noticed Doug Whitcomb's here. Your wife's here, Dusty. Your dad's here, Dusty.
There you go.
We've got Nikki Boxler just joined us. What's going on, Nikki?
I didn't see when I posted that the link on my page. It doesn't show like it popped up on yours. It just shows the actual link.
Gotcha.
I don't know why. Well, would have been cool to get everybody involved, but next time.
Well, let's go back and take a look at your page. We'll see if we can get this right. John, in the meantime, I'll play with this for a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're hunting? I can tell that you're not hunting in the East Coast.
Well, I do, but I hunt everywhere.
Right, you do hunt everywhere. But I kind of, a lot of the pictures we've seen recently have been out west.
Yeah, I do a lot of Western hunting. I would say nowadays, 85% of my hunts are Western game hunts and 15 are Eastern whitetail.
Okay.
So, Eastern or Midwestern whitetail. I used to do mostly whitetail back in the day, and mainly because I felt like it was at the time was the more sexy thing to do. It was what everybody in the industry was doing. Everybody wanted to kill big whitetail bucks. That's where all the sponsorship money went to, and so on and so forth. Not that I didn't have a passion for it, because I still love the chess game of whitetail hunting. I still love the tree stand hunt and set up ambush points for whitetail. That's why I still hunt them every year, because there's a piece of me that just really, really loves that. It's more of a mind game as opposed to a physical game that you play out west.
Okay.
Not that there's not a lot of, thought process and scouting and so on and so forth involved, but there's a lot more physicality involved in mountain hunting than there is in tree stand hunting. But the flip side of it is in tree stand hunting, I feel like it's like I said, more of a chess game. It's definitely more a brain game, so to speak. You're trying to figure out patterns. You're trying to put yourself in a position where those deer are going to be. And a lot of that I applied to my spot and ambush technique, because I learned how to pattern deer, and I learned how to make those, and I applied those same tree stand tactics to hunt elk and to hunt, mule deer out here. And eventually I just kind of started smushing them all together and designing my own little, tactics for taking game. So.
Gotcha. John, I just sent you the link through Messenger.
All right.
If you want to copy and paste that will definitely do it. Looks like you copied and pasted what I think the link to the podcast itself as opposed to the live video.
I think I did. Yeah. I see that you messaged me, but there's nothing in it. That's crazy. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Yes, I got it now. We're gonna pop.
We're gonna get this right by the end of the night.
This is good practice for me because I'm actually planning on using blue jeans here too. So
nice.
Yeah, because the way I do my live podcasts, it's not very cool because the only person that you could see, you can hear everybody when I do it, but the only person you can see is me, and people get tired of staring at me. So,
gotcha.
I'm getting pretty tired of it myself already.
Yeah, but see, now you get to look at Jay a little bit.
That's right.
How many years, John, did it take you to create this style of hunting that
I'm still creating it?
So it's just ongoing. It's just an ongoing process. Yeah. But I'm sure that you're not necessarily mastering it, but you're getting more skillful in the process. How long did it take you to get to the point where you felt like you was pretty confident what you're doing as far as spot and stock?
Well, I mean, I feel like I've been building it or coming to it for the last 20 years, but it's definitely been in the last like 6 or 7 years where I've seen the most fruit being bared from my efforts. So
yeah, makes sense. So it's pretty much a 20-year process, but seems that if you take 14 years of really trying to figure it out really good, and followed up with a 6 year of somewhat of having it organized and being able to, well, like you said, pull the fruit from the tree.
Yeah,
be a little successful in your talent. Once you've got pretty settled in on what you're doing, now what are you doing to better that?
It's still just more or less spending time learning behavior, because everywhere you go, and that's kind of the benefit of me hunting everywhere, is that I get to see animals in a lot of different habitat, in a lot of different environments, a lot of subspecies of the same animal. So, technically there's like 20 different type of whitetail in the United States. They subgroup them in 8, but there's like 20 different whitetail, and they're all act a little different. I mean, they all have very core behavioral stuff going on, but every place, I mean, even from farm to farm, or mountain to mountain, they have little different behavioral things that are different. And I just start watching them and putting them in my mental Rolodex. And I used to actually keep a journal and stuff, but I don't do that anymore. But that was part of the learning process. And
what was the reasoning for stopping the journal?
Getting married and having kids. I just don't have the time. I don't put the effort that I used to put into hunting that I do now. And it sounds silly because I still hunt a lot. I mean, I probably do 15, 16 hunts a year, destination hunts, or at least, a big game hunt. But I don't practice like I used to. I mean, I used to shoot my bow almost daily. And now if I get to shoot it once every 2 weeks, unless I got like a really, really, really big hunt coming up. Like the first time I drew ibex, I practiced every day, and I practiced running shots. I practiced uphill, downhill. I mean, we're talking stuff that I was shooting straight down because I knew I was going to encounter that stuff. and I always try to practice for the game. And I actually saw, because I drew that same tag back to back. So I drew it the first time in 2015, and I drew it again in 2016. In 2016, I had my son, my last child, and I didn't have any time to practice. So I actually missed 3 times on my 2016 hunt. I could have had a second ibex, which, I mean, it's like 3% chance of getting the first ibex, and having a second one would have been pretty damn awesome. But I had opportunities. The physicality of it, I was still in pretty decent shape, and I was able to get into position and make the right make the right moves. But my mistake was not being practiced well enough to make super difficult shots. So I went home empty-handed on that one. But so I guess what I'm getting at is do what I say and not what I do, because I haven't been practicing lately. You should definitely practice a lot and practice for the game. So
that makes sense.
I got a couple of questions coming in here, John.
Mm-hmm.
David Harlan, he had just commented a second ago. He wants to know if you're coming up to hunt moose.
I would love to. It's just waiting to see where my tags fall right now.
Okay.
We are we're going into the deadline for Nevada, and I have a pretty good chance of drawing a Nevada elk tag, and I already drawn a Wyoming elk tag. So those seasons kind of somewhat correlate with I know moose is a little bit more into October. But if I draw 2 elk tags, I'm going to be going into October. And I already have something mid-October planned for a whitetail hunt back home in New York. Okay. So it just depends what I get first. And I definitely want to hunt moose. It's I've been 3 times and gotten skunked 3 times, so it's something I definitely want to get done. So,
gotcha. All right, let's see. We've got Dusty. Are you checking out some of the questions too?
Yeah. My wife says, "What's your favorite animal that you've hunted, John?"
It's probably the ibex, actually. They're just so incredible. They're so physical. Like they could do acrobatics on stuff that we would need, rigging to climb. They're kind of like Spider-Man. I mean, they'll walk on walls that are just a hair of a slant, and that's all they need. And they can jump, and they're super skittish. So they're probably my favorite. But I mean, I love hunting elk, and I love hunting mule deer, and I love hunting whitetail. So it's really hard. I just posted a question on Facebook the other day. What if you can only hunt one animal, what would it be? And I felt like maybe that may be an unfair question because I can't even answer it.
Right.
I love hunting, period. So, I guess my answer is my favorite animal is whatever I got a tag for.
Whatever's in front of you. Yeah. Gotcha. That's cool. I see Billy Daw has joined us. What's going on, Billy?
What's happening, Billy Daw? I don't know, John. Billy Daw has Wheelchair Outdoors on Facebook. Good friend of ours.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I'll have to check that out.
Patrick Redmond just joined us, and he has a question. He wants to know, what is your favorite region to hunt? Okay, so if we can zoom in on the animals, is there a special region to you?
I'm pretty partial to the Southwest. I got to be honest with you. I like country that I can glass. I like those big, not necessarily open, but stuff that you can use, sit there behind binoculars and really pick apart the country to find the game. I feel like I thought I shut that off, but I guess I didn't. I feel like that it's more proactive when you're out there and you're sitting there glassing and so on and so forth. Big, thick timber. I love hunting it as well, but it poses a lot more difficulties for the way that I hunt. It's great if you have the time to scout and pattern things, and maybe you can do a tree stand or whatever. And if you're hunting elk during the rut and, you know, you're chasing bugles and stuff like that, it's not such a big deal, obviously, because you don't need to see them because you can hear them and follow the bugling. But yeah, so the Southwest offers a lot of big expanse, a lot of places for you to glass. But I'm an adventure hunter. I really love hunting everywhere. It's almost as bad as my my answer to what's my favorite animal. I mean, I get excited to go hunting everywhere. So,
gotcha. That makes sense. You want to take us a little tour of your man town back there and show us some of the animals you got on the wall?
If I can avoid some of the garbage that's on the ground and on my desk, yeah, I'll try real quick here.
All right.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't have a whole lot of.
Right. Oh wow.
Let's see. There's a bobcat there's a mule deer right there. That's from Arizona.
Cool.
That's a Wyoming antelope right there. There's my ibex in the corner. Above him's a red fox I shot in New York. You can't really see it. Let me see if I can get that in there. Yeah, not really. Yeah, that's a Coues deer I got with my bow right there. That's this one right here. The whitetail to the right is is an Illinois buck. This is another Arizona mule deer. That's a South Dakota whitetail, an Arizona velvet muley. That's an Illinois whitetail right there above the door. There's my 3 bigger Coues deer with some coyote and bobcat skins on it. Let's see if I can flip this around. That's a big South Dakota mule. That's my biggest mule deer right there. He's like 185. There's my Pope and Young record antelope from South Dakota. My first antelope, the little baby one behind it. There's a little Coues deer buck and a fox right there on top. The Coues deer buck is that orange painted one. There's a Utah buck and a Coues deer next to it. And then let me see if I can get, there we go. There's a black buck I shot in Texas. That big rack underneath him is a Wyoming muley. There's a Wisconsin buck, another Arizona buck. And I think that's about, there's a elk hide right there, but yeah, it's about all you can see. There we go. With that,
cool, man. That's good.
The rest are scattered throughout my house.
Yeah.
Actually, all the big stuff's out there. This is just kind of, what fits in here.
I'm sure there's more stuff, right?
Yeah. Next time we'll do this, I'll do it on my cell phone or something like that, and we can. I'll walk you around. We'll do it at MTV Cribs.
Man. MTV TV Cribs.
We're doing hunting cribs.
That's right. All right, we got a new question that came in from Brandon Brooks. John, what hunt stands out in your mind as the best or most memorable hunt that you've ever been on? Now, I think we talked about this on the podcast. That's usually one of our questions.
Yeah.
Maybe you can fill us in on that.
Honestly, my most memorable. See, that's tough, man. I've had so many awesome memories. And if we're just strictly talking about the hunt itself, I would say most of my memorable hunts are hunts that I did with my family and my friends, and it was just the time spent in the field that was memorable, and like I shared Coues deer hunt with my nephew in 2014. It was his first time ever going hunting, and now he thinks I'm like God's gift to hunting and stuff. He always wants me to go when his dad goes. But it's those things are great. But my most memorable hunt, just for the act of hunting, was probably the buck that I shot in New York this past year, just because of the time that I put into it. I mean, I hunted that buck for 4 years before I was able to connect with him, and there's something to be said about that when you target one specific buck. I don't usually target. My hunting seasons are 5 days at a time because I hunt everywhere. I don't have the time to scout. I mean, I do cyber scouting. I look on maps and I read up a lot. I contact fish and game people. I do scouting in that manner, but boots on the ground scouting to pattern animals and stuff like that very rarely happens unless it's a hunt here in Arizona. And even that, I don't always have the time. I run 2 businesses. I have my hunting businesses and I have a pool contracting business. So and 3 children and a wife. So my time is limited.
Right.
So what I was getting at is my seasons are 5 days long, 7 days sometimes on some of the bigger hunts. Also, and I have a TV show. I have to perform, I have to almost always come home with something. So there's a lot of pressure on me to harvest an animal. So when I see something that's mature, I usually make a play for it. And unfortunately, that doesn't lend itself for me to target animals or to really hold out for that giant buck or that giant, elk or whatever. So I have a lot of medium-sized animals because of it. But
right, I remember you saying that on the podcast, right?
Yeah, I have a I joke with my guys on the Museum of the Medium. So I have like 80 mounts in my house, and I do have some big ones, but I don't have real big giants. And it never used to really bother me at all until social media came about.
Right.
Social media has a funny way of making you start to doubt yourself, because there's always people out there posting things, and everybody's posting and putting their best foot forward. Look at me, I'm awesome. And you post something that you killed, and you're waiting for people. Oh, how many likes did I get? How many likes did I get? How many likes did I get? And that stuff starts to wear on you a little bit. And a lot of times I have to sit myself down and be like, you know what? You do social media because you want to stay connected with your friends, and you do it in my position. I do it because I'm a brand ambassador, and I need to promote myself and promote those brands. I don't do it so that I can get recognition from. I hope my peers respect me, and I hope they enjoy what I put out, and I hope that they like the animals that I harvest, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter. But once in a while, like I said, it gets to you. You're always in the limelight. You're always being scrutinized by people, and so on and so forth. So I don't know if everybody knows the whole story all the time, because they're only seeing a picture or whatever. They don't know that, like I just said, I live my seasons 5 days at a time, and I have a success rate of like 80% with the bow for the last 10 years, filling, like 10, 15 tags a year. So if you look at it from that standpoint, people are like, oh, okay, shit, he's a very accomplished, successful hunter. But if you look at it from the point that I, shot another 130-inch mule deer as opposed to holding out for a 190-inch, or people don't always make that connection. And I think those are the things that kind of wear on you as a guy in the public eye.
Right. Now, you spent a lot of time on YouTube, right? Before you started getting, you had the podcast, but you had it as a private thing to your subscribers.
Right. So my podcast, Interviews with the Hunting Masters, was solely available up until last year to Hunting Channel, the Hunting Channel memberships. So if you had a membership, you can listen to the podcast. And I only did it monthly. I didn't do it weekly like I'm doing now. So I started it. I don't know the exact date. I'd have to go back and look, but I feel like it was almost 10 years. It was about 10 years ago when I started it. And this is before podcasting was cool. I started doing it because there was a guy out there doing Blogging the Outdoors podcast. And I used to listen to it. And there was no iPods. There was no, I had to sit there and watch it on the TV, or excuse me, on the computer screen. I had to listen to it on the computer screen.
Did you order the VHS of this or what?
Yeah, and I crank started it, It was on my Steam Engine computer, but no, I used to play it when I was at the desk working on stuff, and I would just listen to it in the background. I still do that now, actually. When I listen to you guys' podcasts and a couple of other guys that I listen to, but now it's so mobile, it's so awesome, and I really kind of wish I would have brought it to the public a little bit earlier. I feel like I'm reaching a lot of people that I didn't reach when I was doing just video. My TV show Days in the Wild has always been the biggest taker of my time because it takes so much to produce shows. It takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of effort, and podcasting is great because I get to do a lot more, and I get to do it often, and there's a lot more interaction with my fans than I had with the video. The video, you go on a hunt, you video it, you put it up, and you hope everybody watches it and likes it. And that's great. Like I said, I love videoing. I love that medium. I love being able to go back and look at my hunts. But I don't. I feel like podcasting, even though it's old technology and it's coming back, I feel like it's something I'm going to be doing a little bit more, putting a lot more effort into than a TV show.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha. We had Josh Carney join us just a few minutes ago, and Josh will be on live with us next week on Facebook, so that's pretty cool. I'm sure he's just checking it out and make sure he's getting a feel for it right now.
To see the torture that he's going to get put through.
Yeah, it's got to be painful over on your side. Absolutely. And
I'm a little worried about Josh if he can perform on the Blueberry app or the Blue Jeans app or not.
Yeah.
You
know he's going to text you right now.
That's all right. I'm ready for you, Josh. Go ahead, whenever.
Well, yeah, you're mostly. Chris Bell wants to know if you prefer gun or archery. I think I know the answer to that question, John.
Yeah,
I'll let you answer it.
100% archery. I do probably 2 gun hunts a year. Often I'll draw a rifle tag and I'll take my bow and bring a knife to a gunfight. I used to be quite snobby about it, actually. I'm starting to like rifle hunting more and more again. I used to be like, rifle hunt. The only rifle hunt I would ever do was a coos deer hunting, mainly because it's not impossible with a bow. I've shot 3, but and guys get it done every year with a bow here in Arizona, but it's real difficult hunting with a bow, and it's real difficult hunting them with a rifle to find a really good one. So that I always like the challenge of rifle hunting, but I still primarily would rather fail with my bow than succeed with my rifle.
Okay, that makes sense.
Brandon Brooks brought up a good point. They're all trophies, and I couldn't agree with that more. If it gets your blood pumping when you release the arrow or something bigger, man, it's a trophy for sure. Doesn't matter what size it is.
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Brandon? Brandon's a guy that interacts quite often. He won a bee stinger stabilizer from my last live podcast. As a matter of fact, it's sitting here on my desk. I haven't got it out to you yet, buddy. Right next to your address.
It's coming, Brandon. It's in the mail. I promise.
Jeez, man, I need a personal assistant. I really do.
I know.
It's crazy.
So what do you have planned for your podcast coming up, John? What's coming up on your television shows? Anything we can expect?
Yeah. So the TV show, I have pretty much all of 2016 that I still have to render and turn into something that the public can consume. I don't have the time. And I've been trying to farm some of it out, and it hasn't been working out for me very well, unfortunately. So eventually those will come out. As far as the podcast is concerned, like I said, it's a lot easier for me to do them. It's easy for me to sit here and shoot the shit with a guy, about hunting, and on the editing side, there's, as you know, it's not as bad, not as labor intensive. So I will be still producing, one podcast a week. And we have upcoming, I have a couple of really cool guys coming on. We're going to be using some predator hunting stuff right now. I'm going to have a couple turkey guys on in the next couple of weeks. And then as we start getting back into big game season and everybody's starting to chomp at the bit for elk and antelope and stuff like that, where those seasons start, in August and blacktail in July and so on and stuff, we'll be releasing podcasts that pertain to those hunts, leading up to them. So you can get that information, learn the secret sauce, so to speak, from those experts that we have on for the podcast. So I'm excited.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, I think we'll wrap that up, John. Thank you for coming back on and doing a little Q&A session with us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where can we find your podcast, and where can we find more on social media?
You can find it on Podbean is where it's hosted. So it's Interviews with the Hunting Masters on Podbean, but easiest probably is on iTunes. So if you have an iPhone or a Mac, iTunes is Interviews with the Hunting Masters. Same. It's pretty easy to get it. I'm sure if they're following your podcast, they know where I'm all the same places that you're at. So
right, yeah, it's the podcast directories, they're out there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think if there are no further questions, guys, I don't see any more. They've kind of slowed down a little bit. But thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back next week at 8:00 on Thursday. So if you're liking this, please let us know. Send me or Dusty an email, Jay or Dusty at bigbuckregistry.com. I want to see what you think, or I want to hear what you think about these live shows. They're a little intimidating, I got to be honest, for us, because we're audio, pre-recorded guys. So this is a little different aspect for us. But I do like it. I think it's a new way to kind of peek behind the curtain.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been doing them for a while now. I did about 6 of them. And this is a way more sophisticated way of doing it, and I like it. This is great, and you can share it on different Facebook pages and stuff, and you can see all 3 of us, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's quite the undertaking, and plus, people are just sitting there staring at your grill,
Right.
and it's supposed to just listening to you, and you can't go back and edit things, and you start rambling like I did before. You can't fix that.
Right. That's sort of life. That's the way.
I almost started going on a tirade about how Facebook makes people depressed. So hopefully I recovered fast enough. And
nothing like a live feed, and
nothing like a live feed, man.
So this live feed tonight was brought to you by Covert Scouting Cameras. If you get a chance and you're looking for a new camera, look them up. dlccovert.com, and great cameras, great customer service. Thanks again to Covert.
Yeah, thank you very much to Covert. And John, thank you again for joining us. And we'll touch base. I'm going to end the broadcast, everybody, but tune in next week, Thursday, 8:00.
All right.
See you guys.
Thanks for having me.